It's a bad day for business for Boeing. Its shares are tanking, and horrible news for the relatives and colleagues mourning those killed in a second accident involving a Boeing 737 MAX 8. The Ethiopian Airlines flight crashed shortly after takeoff from Addis Ababa on Sunday. All passengers and crew, including 8 Chinese nationals, were killed. Ethiopia has grounded all 737 MAX aircraft. China has ordered all of its airlines to do the same, citing zero tolerance for safety risks. Indonesia is following suit. Cayman Islands too, I just read. Now, remember, these planes are all brand new and there's a heap of deliveries on the way. So this could be a huge setback for Boeing. Well, let's talk about this with Christoph Korber. He's following the story for us. Christoph, just how important, first of all, is the 737 MAX for Boeing?
It's hard to understate the importance of the 737 MAX for Boeing. It is a new generation of Boeing's very successful 737 series, which has been around for over 50 years. It sells extremely well. It's very well known. And the 737 MAX features a new engine design, which is said to be more fuel efficient, which is very important to airlines these days. And it has a backlog at Boeing of about 5,000 orders. That is by far more than any other plane in Boeing's offering, for that matter. So if there's something systematically wrong with this very, very important product, Boeing has a huge problems at their hands.
But how could that happen with something so new and so important for the airline? How could that happen so early on?
Well, that is the big question. And I mean, we must not jump to conclusions so far as to whether this most recent crash has the same cause as the one we saw in October of this Lion Air flight. There are similarities over which experts are raising eyebrows. Both very new planes, the events happening in the same stage of flight, so shortly after takeoff and then the crash. So these are the similarities. Nevertheless, experts say, well, there might be a different cause after all for what happened on Sunday.
Now, I just mentioned all of the countries that are grounding these aircraft. What about the Chinese market? I don't want to sound like a skeptic here, but could this be a huge opportunity for Chinese competition?
It could be on the one hand. At the same time, this incident and the questions that Boeing is facing now come at a time when both Boeing and Airbus, being the dominant drivers, dominant forces on the aviation market, have difficulty catering to the huge demand of the Chinese market as it is. There are studies saying that there's going to be a demand of about 6,000 planes in China as this market is growing, and both of these big companies cannot deliver these masses of aircraft. So there's competition waiting in the wings. There is the COMAC C919, which is a mid-range jet entirely developed in China and built in China. It's in the final stages of testing. And it does get somewhat of a boost from Beijing because the Chinese government has ordered all the major carriers in China to order at least 20 of these mid-range jets for their fleet.
Is there any time frame yet? Do we know how long this is all going to take from Boeing to work out what went wrong and to continue business, I guess, for them?
It is hard to say. We just got news today that the black boxes, so meaning the voice recorder of the flight deck and the flight data recorder, have been recovered near the crash site. So investigators will analyze this, the flight recorder potentially being able to be analyzed quicker than the flight data recorder, which could take weeks to read, for that matter.
Christoph Korber, thank you very much for coming in.